Welcome, Beverly. Election night 2025. This is quite a big deal, and as you well know, this is a kind of a big election for us. It's really, although our mayor has won 6 elections, he had a pretty viable candidate this particular year, and so we're going to wait for those results and take a look at what happens as the night goes on, as well as other contested races that are here in Beverly as well. My name is Temkin. I'm going to serve as co-host here tonight with my partner in crime.
I'm Andi Freedman, and we're really excited to be here tonight to share the results with you. And they're coming in right now. Polls closed at 8 o'clock. It's now around 8:15, and I know we're going to have some results for you right away. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce a special guest that's going to help us tonight discuss the results and discuss the process. So if you didn't know the process and how it works here in Beverly, you're going to find out tonight, and it's really quite interesting. So I'd like to, without further ado, introduce our friend, Wes Slate, who was city councilor between 2008 and 2013, and his last year, 2013, he was vice president on the city council. And then he served as city clerk right here in Beverly from 2015 to 2020. And without further ado, let's welcome Wes. Hey, Wes, thanks for coming.
Happy to be here again.
It's so great to have you here. So what's your thoughts about the election this year?
Well, it's interesting because, as you said, as Al suggested, there are some significant things that are happening once we get all the results. This will be the first time in Beverly that voters voted for a mayor for a 4-year term. The city charter was changed in the last city election 2 years ago, so that this year we'll be electing a mayor for a 4-year term, not a 2-year term. So whoever gets sworn in by the clerk in January will serve a 4-year term. The other change is that the school committee is adding 2 new members. The current school committee has 6 members, 1 from each ward, plus the mayor, which makes 7. It'll now have 9 members. One additional from what's called District A, and that's wards 1, 2, and 3, and a second member from District B, and that's wards 4, 5, and 6, for a total of 9 members. And then the council at large race, there are 6 candidates, and the top 3 vote getters at the end of the night will be the 3 elected, and the one who gets the most votes by our charter will become the council president for the next 2 years. We do it differently in Beverly than other communities elect their council president every year or every 2 years. The Charter Commission thought about changing that again to be somewhat different, but decided that, and I frankly agree, that having the council president elected citywide as a councilor at large and also be the top vote getter among the council at large candidates, well, for a lot of reasons, but also because if anything happens to the mayor during that now 4-year term, the council president would become acting mayor. And it would be nice to have somebody that's elected citywide as opposed to a ward councilor, as I was, who only represents 1/6 of the city. The other people on the ballot, all 6 of the incumbent ward councilors were unopposed, so they'll all be reelected. And 4 of the 6 school committee members, 2 of the 6 school committee members are returning, so there'll be 4 new school committee members, but they also were unopposed, and so they'll automatically be elected. So what we're looking at, what we're really interested in tonight when we get the results, is obviously whom the next mayor will be, whom the next 3 city councilors will be at large, and the council president, the one who gets the most votes of those. And then finally, the 2 district representatives from the school committee, District A and District B. All the other offices will be automatically elected because they were unopposed.
I think the 2 thoughts that our audience might enjoy understanding is that, first of all, the difference with Beverly being in a situation where the largest vote getter at large is the president of the council. In many other cities and towns, the city council elects
That's right.
the president and the vice president, I believe.
Right.
So, so that is a little bit of a difference between us and many of the other cities and towns in the Commonwealth. And I think the other thing that's important and interesting is, of the 3 at-large seats in Beverly, the only one incumbent is Julie Flowers, current city council president. Brendan Sweeney was at-large, obviously now running for mayor. And Hannah Bowen was at-large, who won the state representative, Jerry Paracella's seat.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's interesting when you look at the dynamics of the change that's happening here in Beverly with the people who will be leading the city
Right.
from this point forward.
There's one other wrinkle in what you mentioned, Al, and that is that Hannah, who had been the other at-large councilor who did not run for re-election, she was elected state representative back at the special election in May, I guess. She actually resigned her seat effective October 31st, so that the person who's elected at large, who is not currently serving, that gets the most votes, in other words, whoever comes in second, can be seated immediately. That was another change in the charter, so that new counselor, instead of waiting till January when everyone else will be sworn in, can actually be elected. I believe officially it's when the clerk posts the official election results, which probably would be by the end of this week. It takes a couple of days. The results that'll come in tonight will be called the unofficial results.
Right.
Because then they have to count the write-ins and the write-ins and the hand counts. And that'll be a handful of votes in a city election. But those numbers, when the clerk posts them, within a couple of days, at that point, the election results will be official, and that person that comes in second in the at-large race can actually be sworn in right away and probably attend the next council meeting.
Well, we've got some exciting news. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think we have the results, the unofficial results for mayor already. So, drum roll, please. And it was very, very close, but Mike Cahill will continue to be our mayor with 2,654 votes, and Sweeney got 2,221 votes. So that's about 400 votes different. That is really a close race. This was really a good race. It doesn't sound like a huge turnout, but Mike narrowly won. What do we think?
Well, I think it's interesting because I think you're so right. I think turnout is everything.
Yeah.
Right? And we, in the city of Beverly, the last time we had over 40% of our registered voters vote was when you ran against Mike for mayor back in 2013. And, but we've been, 33% or less ever since, even in years when we've had the mayor elections. So, so that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what we had for a voter turnout.
I'm not sure how to help you with that.
But I also think, well, neither are we.
Alexa just chimed in for some reason. I don't know why.
But I also think that.
Are we taking calls?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that.
Voter.
It's funny that you mentioned, are we taking calls? Because we do have sort of a special guest in the background. And Entering Beverly, many of you know about Entering Beverly. And Entering Beverly is our, local, anonymous, I don't know what you would call them, but they are here with us live, posting right now on our BevCam channel. And he says, "Daddy for the win." Wait, this turnout is so rough. They seem very upset about the turnout tonight.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I was just about to say, you'll remember that. So the last time we had such a close mayoral race was when Mike lost to Bill Scanlon.
Yep.
The difference
Right.
was about 330 votes. So,
That's right.
yeah, and that was some years ago now. So that's interesting that,
And Mike had actually, Al, in that election, if you remember, Mike, Bill, Tim Flaherty, and I
Yeah.
think Rick Marciano were on the ballot. And so there was a primary in September, and Mike actually came in first in the primary. Bill came in second, Tim came in third, Rick came in fourth. So it was Mike and Bill in the final.
Right.
There are a couple of different theories as to why Bill ended up winning. The consensus was that they were able to focus on the November election at that point. But the other thing was that Tim Flaherty, who came in third, endorsed Bill. And so a lot of people who voted for Tim in the preliminary and couldn't vote for him in the final, he encouraged them and said that he was going to support Bill in the final. And that certainly contributed to the difference.
I'm sure it made a
And I
difference.
think both candidates really focused, instead of running against three people, they were running against each other, and it got Bill into his last term.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting, and that makes so much sense. Tim is a very popular, very well-respected guy in the city of Beverly, as is his whole
Oh,
family.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting, one thing that struck me about this campaign, and you can see it was very, very close, was how amicable it was.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of mudslinging here in Beverly, and
You get a couple of good guys. I mean, these guys.
Yeah.
These guys were running for the right reasons, and you're right, no mudslinging, and there is a great deal of respect, I think, for each of them, for each other, with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And that's good. I mean, it just doesn't, to sit at a forum or a debate, listening to two people act like children.
right.
It just doesn't,
It's
it doesn't
kind-
accomplish anything.
And in our
Right?
current climate, that is a breath of fresh air, I've got to say.
well, we all live in Beverly. We all we run into each other at a lot of the same events, belong to a lot of the same organizations, and it's much harder to avoid people that you're that close with physically.
Sure.
When you live and in some cases work in the same community. It's probably easier even in Boston and certainly in Washington when people are from all over the state or all over the country.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to show you a little video compilation that we came up with, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Good morning, everyone. What a great turnout for the great city of Beverly.
Hi, I'm Geraldine, or Jerry Cahill, as everybody calls me. I've been a member of this community for 45 years. I've raised 8 of my own children in this community, and
My name is John Taylor. When I was a little boy, I struggled with learning, and I went to our public educational schools. I'm a big fan of public education, which is why I'm running for school committee.
Wherever you live in Beverly, whatever neighborhood you call home, I am one of the city councilors who represents you, and I take that role and that responsibility and that privilege extremely seriously.
My name is Brendan Sweeney. I'm an at-large city councilor, and I'm running for mayor of Beverly. I've been a city councilor since 2021, but that's a part-time job. In my full-time job, I work as the assistant town administrator and finance director for the town of Oxford.
So why am I running? So I've had the pleasure of serving on school committee for several terms. I'm a professional educator. I've been in higher education most of my career. I train and teach teachers. I write about teaching. But one of the pieces of my work that I love the most is I do a lot of work in dialogue and facilitation.
My name is Kyle Rotalik. I'm born and raised in Beverly. Still live in Ryleside. Love it so much. And I'm also the chair of the Beverly Airport Commission. I've moved all over, done years here and there, but Beverly is definitely the best place in the country.
My record of serving this community, combined with my experience and my current position as a PhD student in public policy, make me uniquely qualified to serve as the District B representative.
I have a lot of experience that I can help our new superintendent navigate the challenges, as well as I still maintain excellent relationships with many of our teachers and educators. So
my name is John Mulady. Some of you might know me as Teddy's dad or Jack's dad. I've been very lucky to be a part of this community since my wife and I first bought our house in 2010. I spent time volunteering in different positions here in Beverly.
I'm running for Ward 1 City Councilor. I hope to earn your vote again, as I've always said, and make myself readily available to you. I'm here to help you guys, and I hope and get your vote for this year's election.
My name is Danielle Spang. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve as the Ward 2 City Councilor the last 2 years. If you live in Ward 2, I would appreciate consideration and your vote.
I am once again running for City Council for the Ward 5 seat. It will be my 4th term if I have the honor of being elected.
And what I hope can be is me as a leader on the school committee, helping us to interact honestly. I want to be very present for you in our district.
I'm Lindsay Ducharme. I'm running for Ward 4 School Committee. And I think it's really important to not just hear you, but respond to you. And so my commitment is to take that role really responsibly.
My name's Madeline Lennox, and I'm running for Ward 2 School Committee. I think the teachers in Beverly are fabulous, and our kids are really lucky to have them, but there are struggles, and I really hope to work with the community to figure out solutions for these problems.
One of the reasons I'm running is you vote for us to take this position to take care of those situations. It's not your fault.
I'm asking you to help me to continue to partner with you by voting for me on November 4th to continue as your mayor for the first ever 4-year term in the city's history. As I said, I'm grateful. Everyone in this community needs that championing and that support, and I want to be there for all of you to do that.
Good morning, everyone.
back. Welcome back, Beverly. Well, this is exciting because when you have live TV, anything could happen. And so although we did report the winner correctly, and remember we said these results were unofficial.
We did.
We did report the winner correctly. It is Mike Cahill, we were saying unofficially won the race for mayor again, won another term. But the numbers we had were incorrect. So let's correct the numbers now. So we have Cahill with winning 6,228 votes, and Sweeney with 4,292 votes. And that makes me feel better because the turnout was a lot better than what we previously reported. But this is what live TV is all about, and this is the election, and it makes it very exciting. So
that's why you want to stick with us, ladies and gentlemen, because we're gonna give you a good show. Some of the information is going to be appropriate, and some of it isn't. so it's up to you to figure that out. But we're going to try to be as helpful as we can. We are waiting for some results now to let you know about the large races and the school committee as well. So hold on, stay tuned. We're gonna have those results coming in probably very quickly.
And we have Entering Beverly with us, and of course they were very concerned about the low turnout, as were we, but we can definitely say that more people voted, and we feel better about that.
If you have well over 8,000 votes,
that's pretty good.
8,300 votes, I mean, that's well over the 33% or less that we've been seeing for the past,
it's a decent turnout,
for the past several
right?
elections.
Yeah,
that is good.
Yeah. So anyways, I didn't mean to cut you folks off before, but let's talk about the 4-year term a little bit, because that's new, and I'm sure that gives Mike some relief, because now he doesn't have to start campaigning pretty much right away. You know?
Well, that is true, and I think many of the cities and towns around us have had that for years.
Right.
We were kind of late to the game on that, and I think, I mean, look at the job of mayor of a city of this size. It's a busy job, right? And if you're going to be working for the city for a year and a half, and then campaigning for 6 months,
I know.
It doesn't.
How can you do your job?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I think if I remember correctly, and you can help me with this, I think the city overwhelmingly supported the 4-year term. Is that a fair statement?
It was a yes. Yeah. And you're right, Al. I mean, the logic behind it and the idea behind it. And Salem, by the way, did this long before we did. The mayor of Salem has served a 4-year term for a number of years now. And the thinking is that a 2-year term, especially for a new mayor, is just not enough time to get settled into the job, figure out all the things you have to do. One of the things you have to do right away when you get sworn in January is start working on the budget that has to be presented to the council by the end of May by charter. And that's a lot of work. That's assembling all the information from all the departments of the city and the school department, which is over half the budget. And the job itself, it's since the charter, the last time the charter was changed before this was back in the mid-90s. And prior to that, the old Board of Aldermen really ran the city. They hired and fired people, they promoted people. If you knew you were alderman, you could get your street paved if they had some political connection with people that did the work. And that was changed by that earlier charter commission to what's called a strong mayor and a weaker council. The council still has the ability to pass the budget, pass the appointees of the mayor, and a number of other things. But the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. He's also the chief procurement officer of the city. We have a purchasing agent, but no contract, no official document is signed by anybody but the mayor. The budget, I believe this year, is $157 million of our tax money. The city employs over 1,100 people if you include the teachers. There are 13 labor unions. I believe there are something like 16 to 18 department heads that report to the mayor. So it's a big job, and for someone to be elected in January and to have to take on all of that responsibility as a new mayor is a lot. And 2 years is just not enough time, because the second year, you're thinking of that election in November and possibly a primary in September. So most everything you do becomes a political decision, or it's politically influenced, because you're thinking of that all the time, that you have to get elected to do the job. And the fact that it appears the incumbent mayor got a good response from the voters that did show up, and we'll be able to go back to work tomorrow and continue right through to January, be sworn in again by the clerk in January, along with the other people that got elected tonight, and have those 4 years ahead of him to do things without having to worry about an election for another 4 years. And that's, it wasn't just my opinion. I did vote for it in the election 2 years ago. But as you said, a majority of Beverly voters thought it was a good idea and did it. And now that will apply to the mayor that was elected tonight.
And that's good for our city. I think the bottom line is it's just good for our city.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I totally
think it
agree.
is.
I totally agree. Now let's talk about the city councilors. Hopefully we're going to get some at-large numbers in here pretty soon. But it's interesting to me that really all our city councilors ran unopposed except for the at-large seats. And what do we think that means? Does it mean that everybody's just really happy with their job, or that no one wants the job? I don't know. I mean,
it's probably some combination of that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know, but I just think we're pretty fortunate in our city here, because not that I would say it on air anyway, but I don't think that there is anybody that sits in our city council that many people would say, this person has to go.
No.
I don't think that's the case. And I think you disagreed with some things, and that's okay, but I just don't think so. So I think we're pretty fortunate when it comes to that.
Agreed.
But I do think, across the country, there's a lot of people that just won't step up. They won't, and for all the right reasons, I think.
Yeah, none of us want to do it.
No.
But you did, Wes. And what was your thinking going into being on the city council, and what was your experience?
Well, I was a ward councilor from Ward 2, which is, I always said it's most of the downtown, the waterfront, and the Goat Hill neighborhood.
Right.
And as a ward councilor, there are 6 of them. You're focused on the people that live in those neighborhoods that are the only ones that can elect you, can vote for you. The neighborhoods, the issues which are unique among the 6 wards, the issues in Ward 2 are different than Ward 5, which is North Beverly, and Ward 6, which is Beverly Farms, Centerville, and Pride's Crossing. Every neighborhood is different, and the ward councilors' interest and activities reflect that. Some of the issues are common: parking and traffic, people's taxes, obviously, the trash, which fortunately got resolved finally.
Yeah.
But those local issues, and that's a lot of what the ward councilors focus on. I always said, and people disagreed with me, I think it was mostly the at-large councilors that disagreed. If you're an at-large councilor, you represent the whole city, but you don't represent anybody specifically. If you're a ward councilor, you absolutely represent. You get to vote on city issues that affect the whole city, but your focus at the end of the day, and I always told people that were interested in running, and when I was city clerk, when I'd have people come in and talk to me about the job and say, what was it like and what do you need to do? And I'd say, well, here's the thing you have to remember. And certainly when they got elected and I swore them in, I'd say, listen, just remember that you're voting on a lot of issues that are citywide, but the only people that can vote for you are the people that live in your ward. So take care of your people. And I think that really reflected it. I love the job. I think it was a good way to serve. I always said that I had been involved in a lot of political things before I ran for office. When our son was younger, the job that I had, I did a lot of traveling and wasn't able to really spend a lot of time other than with the family on political stuff. But that changed, and when I was working locally, I was able to do that, and I was approached by one of the counselors that wasn't going to run again and said, you know, your name always comes up, would be interested in running. And I said, yeah, I would. So I had an opponent, and we ran a good campaign, stood out in the rain on election day.
Oh.
It really poured that day.
Oh, man.
But I got elected, and what I found was, if you're a volunteer or you're involved in political activities, in a political party or a committee or whatever, you're a volunteer, but at the end of the day, you don't get to vote on anything. And I wanted to have a seat at the table. I wanted to be one of the 9 people that voted on the issues that affected the city and affected my ward, where we've lived since we moved here in 1982, and really be able to influence things that go on in the city beyond the ward that we lived in. And it worked out that way. And as you get to learn the way the council operates, what the rules are, how the other 8 people work, my predecessor, Miranda Gooding, said, just remember, you've got to have at least a majority of people agree with you to get anything passed. And if you're in committee and there's 3 people, you got to have at least one other person agree with you, or you can't get anything done. So there's a lot of that. We also, and I always made this point, and I think it's important in these times to emphasize it, city elections in Massachusetts are nonpartisan, and that means that we don't run under a political label. We're registered, most of us, or many of us, with a political party, but we're not focused on those partisan issues to the extent that state officials, and certainly elected officials and federal elected officials are. It's all about politics. So we're really able to work with people that have very different political views on partisan issues, but when we got in that room and we'd vote on issues that affected Beverly, that's really what we focused on. We didn't worry about, we didn't really care too much. I knew what my colleagues' political influences were, but it didn't matter when we got in that room. My concern was, were they going to support the things that I wanted to do? And conversely, would I support the things that they wanted to do, regardless of our partisan political, regardless of who we voted for in the last presidential election or the last state election? So that was.
Well, I just think it's great. I think that I certainly, the citizens, and I think I speak on behalf of many of the citizens of Beverly, if not all, that we appreciate your service. And we appreciate the fact that I think most of the group, even to this day, that sits around that in those chambers, feels the same way. They certainly act like they feel the same way, and that's kind of cool. That really is cool.
So we have some numbers here that we'd like to share with you. I need to put my glasses on, but let's talk about the at-large seat first. And these are, looks like Julie Flowers came in with the most votes at 709,006. Second most was John Milady with 4,232. And it looks like Keith Sonia with 3,988. Those are the top 3 vote getters. So those would be our at-large, our new at-large. Well, Julie's an incumbent, but 2 new at-large counselors. We have coming in with 3,330 votes was Mr. Marciano. We had with 3,170 votes, Kenan, and with 1,490 votes, Kyle Ritalik. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to go that way, but that is really interesting. So we have Keith Sonia, who is a board member here at BevCam.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of the new city councilors,
It's interesting.
at-large councilors.
I'm reading through some stuff in preparation for tonight. He spent the most money.
Is that right?
He spent the most money in the at-large race, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, which so.
And I guess it paid off, literally.
Off for him. Good for him. He did a nice job. He was a hard-working young man, and
yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think he's fairly new to the city. I think he's been
he
here
is
for
rather
2 or 3
new.
years or something. And,
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. I mean, now you're going to get a little bit of a different perspective, right? And I think that probably will not hurt us.
Correct.
Right? I think that's great. I think Julie serving, I think she has served as president now for
This will be her third term, her
yeah.
fourth term on the council, and her third term as council president. She ran the last year that Paul Guanci was council president, and I was city clerk at the time. And the way the seats are set up, I got to sit next to Julie because the clerk sits next to the council president. Council at large sits next to one of either the clerk or the president, and I had the chance to sit this close to her and saw her work very diligently. She paid attention. She took a lot of notes. She also was not someone who spoke every time, which some people do. When she had something to say, it was very well thought out, very well said, and she paid attention. And I think that was reflected in the numbers. And so the following election, when Paul decided not to run, and Julie had done very well. She had come in second, I think, in that election when Paul came in. Paul always came in first.
Right.
Yeah.
So she came in first, became the new council president that time, and I served with both of them. I worked with both of them. They run meetings differently, but with a light touch, and also with a real respect for anyone who shows up to the meeting. Paul always said when people would call into the clerk's office, wanted to get on the agenda, he said, put them on the agenda. If they're that interested, we'll give them their 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it was. And Julie's done the same thing to really open it up and keep the discussion respectful. And the Beverly Council, Al referred to this earlier, was always noted. Nelson Benton back in the day always referred to the Beverly Council in very glowing terms, that we operated differently than some of our neighboring cities where the councils could be much more contentious. The relationship with the mayor would be much more acrimonious, and Beverly really didn't operate that way, and still doesn't, and I think that benefits all of us. Doesn't mean we agreed with the mayor all the time, doesn't mean the council should necessarily agree with the mayor all the time.
Right. Yeah.
That's why they're there, but the relationship was very respectful, very positive, certainly different than at the state level and the federal level. It's interesting, those results that you reported, Andi. Julie, not surprisingly, topped the ticket, as she has the last 2 times. So she will be the new council president, continue as council president.
Mm-hmm.
John Milady, former school committee member, well-known in Beverly, has got a young family. He's a teacher at Manchester Essex High School. My wife, Georgia Bills, and I have both had experience with John and meeting his students. Georgia did some work over at the high school in Manchester, and she said his students just love him. They're really, he's a great teacher, and I think that's reflected in his work on the school committee. And when he ran for council, obviously did very well and came in second. I believe, and I said this earlier, if people remember, I believe that means that he can be sworn in soon as the clerk reports the official results. That was a change in the charter also, because that council at large seat that Hannah Bowen sat in since she resigned last October 31st is now vacant, and so he can be sworn in. So in probably within the next week or so, or at the next meeting probably, and take his seat instead of waiting until January.
That's cool.
Keith, I've gotten to know through some political stuff, and you're right, Al. He ran a tremendous campaign. He and his wife are fairly new to Beverly, but not new to the North Shore. He's a Lynn guy. Anybody from Lynn that was involved in politics was well schooled by Agnes Rico and the Democrats in Lynn. But he's the chair of the Democratic City Committee here in Beverly, and ran a tremendous campaign. Rick came in fourth. Rick's a perennial candidate. I believe this will be his 18th election that he's run in.
Wow.
He's never been elected, but he's always, he hasn't run in a couple of years, but he ran this year, and he got
It
came in
almost,
fourth.
Almost there.
Ken Ann was on the school committee, did a great job. She was from Ward 2, where I live, and Kyle was a new candidate, new to politics, really did well in the debates for various reasons, and he admitted this. Didn't really campaign, didn't raise any money. I think his results reflect that, but certainly was a credible candidate. We had a good slate of candidates this year in all of them. So
I agree.
I think the council that takes office, along with those 6 incumbents, I think will be well served by these people that were elected tonight.
Absolutely. So I'm just curious and on edge about the school committee.
Yeah. So we do have some results for school committee now too, and like we talked about, this District A, District B, this sort of school committee at large race is new to Beverly, so it's kind of exciting.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
So for District A,
which is wards 1, 2, 3, I believe.
It's
correct.
Wards 1, 2, 3. We have Jerry Cahill, I think no relation to Mike Cahill, coming out on top with 2,438 votes, and Rachel Abel with 1,850 votes. So Jerry Cahill will be the school committee District A member. And then we have for B, we have Lorinda Visnick coming out on top with 2,556 votes, and Brad Willenbrock with 2,310 votes. So that was a close race. That was a squeaker.
Yeah.
So, and there are District B at large member. And I think those were all the contested races we had here in Beverly. And but this is going to be interesting. Now, of course, Lorinda Visnick has been I believe Ward 4.
Ward 6.
She was school
Ward
committee.
6.
Right.
School
Sixth
committee.
committee,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Did I say counselor? Oops, sorry.
No, you may not have.
I don't know.
She goes to all the council meetings, so you might have.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I do see her
Confused
there,
her with
right?
that.
Yeah. So she was kind of an incumbent, not for this particular seat. Like I said, it was a new seat. But that was a close race, and I was surprised it was that close.
It's interesting. Yeah. She's. I happen to know Lorinda. She's a Beverly Rotarian, as I am, and she's a go-getter. She really is a go-getter. She's out there, and she's very bright, very articulate.
Yeah.
Studying right now for a PhD.
Is that right?
Yeah, she is. She's very bright. Very, very bright.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know Brad. I hear great things about him.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know him.
Like I said, there's really not anybody that's clearly like, oh, we got to have this person, we can't have this person.
Right.
You know, everybody would probably do a good job no matter what.
That is so true. And we're lucky. We're lucky to have the competition.
We really,
Absolutely.
we really do. We really are lucky. And so, what an interesting evening. We had some excitement with the false numbers coming out, and of course, I want to reiterate again, these are unofficial numbers. So if we got it wrong, this was our best account of the election.
No, the clerk will have the unofficial results posted on the city website before they go home tonight.
Oh, excellent!
Probably in a while.
So,
and then the official
check that out.
results will be out within a couple of days. It shouldn't take too long to get those done with the low turnout. I'm interested, Andi, in the totals, in that I did some checking, and I actually I saw the clerk last week and got some numbers from her yesterday, and as of February 1st, which was the last time they ran the total, it would have been more as of today, but back in February, there were 31,104 registered voters in Beverly. So if the total votes cast for mayor,
we're in the 10,000 range.
10,000. So that's roughly a third. I was hoping that we might get to 40%. I think I said that earlier. It looks like we're short of that, and that means that unfortunately. Maybe 2/3 of the people that are registered to vote in Beverly did not vote today or during early voting or absentee. But the turnout, it doesn't seem to ever change, even when there's a very competitive mayor's race, as there was this year. Some people just do not vote in local elections.
I just wish we could get into the sheets on that. I think
Yeah.
it's sad.
It is sad.
And why?
Yeah.
I mean, you live here, you want to bring up your family here, you want to maybe work in the area. Why would you not want to participate in helping the city?
Choose the next leader
why
of
would
the
you want-
city.
I mean, I just don't understand that. I'd love to know who those people are.
Go get them, Al, and you drag them in. You drag them to that voting booth.
I would love to know.
Well, maybe we need a better get out the vote campaign citywide.
Andi,
No?
I agree with both of you. I will tell you on a political level, I've done that, and certainly when I was city clerk, and meeting with other clerks, we talked about this all the time. Early voting was supposed to be a big boost to turnout, and the reality is it didn't really change the numbers at all. It really just made it more convenient for people to decide when they wanted to vote. I wanted to just take a minute, if we can, to talk about the school committee results, because this is a big change in the school committee.
Right.
And I think it's important because what it means is that the school committee that gets sworn in January will have three incumbent members. Kim Coelho from Ward 3 ran for re-election and was unopposed, so she will be back.
Yep.
Karen Robinson from Ward 5 from North Beverly, same thing, so she'll be back. And Lorinda, as you said, from currently Ward 6, but now District B, was elected, so she'll be back. So that's 3 of the new 9. The mayor was reelected, so that's 4. The other 5 members of the school committee will be new.
Wow.
Those other ward members will be new, so that means a majority of the school committee will be new members. Jerry Cahill, who you said was elected,
right,
beating Rachel Abel, who was a longtime school committee member from Ward 1 and also president of the school committee for a number of years.
Yes.
So Jerry will be new, and the other wards, other than 3 and 5, will have new members of the school committee who were unopposed. So they'll be new. So they'll have 9 members, 5 of whom are new. The reason I think that's important, and this is just something that I think wasn't really talked about in the campaign, but I think it's something that people that have been around for a while have recognized, that the school committee, when education reform was passed by the state in '93, I believe it was, it changed the relationship between school committees throughout the state and superintendents. And school committees are supposed to have 3 major functions. One is to hire and evaluate the superintendent.
Right.
The second is to set a budget, which is then approved by, in our case, the city council and the mayor.
Yep.
And the third thing is to select policy. They are not, and I mentioned the old Board of Aldermen that ran in Beverly and used to run everything and like that. School committees are supposed to do those 3 things, and that's it. They're not supposed to get involved in micromanaging the schools, dealing with department heads, teachers, principals. They are supposed to deal with the superintendent and, in our case, Dr. Cushing's staff, through him, and that's it. They, for some reason, and I'm not blaming our current school committee solely, somehow in Beverly, school committees over a number of years, you could go back to when Jim Hayes was the superintendent, who really held them to that.
Yeah.
I served on the council with Judith Cronin, who then ran the Y and now is a grandma and has grandchildren, so she spends a lot of time with them. But Judith told me when she was on the school committee, and she was school committee president, Jim Hayes came in and laid it out for them and said, look, you hired me to do this job. Here's what my job is, and here's what your job is.
Right.
And I'm going to do my job. I want you to do yours. And he held them to that. Somehow school committees, since he left, have gotten away from that, and they've gotten more and more involved in, if you look at their meetings and you listen to them, and they are on BevCam all the time because they have so many meetings with committees and the full committee and committee of the whole and all that. They will get involved in issues that you're thinking, the superintendent is responsible for this, or has people that are responsible for this. The new superintendent in Beverly, we're paying over $200,000 because that's what superintendents get paid now.
Of course, if you want a good
Because
one.
not a lot of people want those jobs.
You're
And we brought this guy in. I think we have a chance now, and I hope the new school committee takes this seriously with the new members and new leadership. They're also going to, after the clerk would swear in the school committee at the high school on that first Monday in January,
Yeah.
they would then have what they call their organizational meeting that night. The council meets right away on the stage at the high school for their first meeting, but the school committee would meet that night. So when I was clerk, I would go to their meeting, and they would elect their officers, their president, vice president, and secretary.
Right.
And I would swear in their president, have them sign the book, the big book, and all of that. So they have a chance now to, and Dr. Cushing, the superintendent now, working with a new school committee in January, new leadership of the school committee, because the current president won't be there. Lorinda's the vice president. I don't know what her plans are going forward, and there'll be a lot of new members. So it's going to be interesting to see how the new school committee operates, how Dr. Cushing, the new superintendent who just got here in June, I think, how he's going to be able to deal with them. Perhaps he'll go back to the Jim Hayes days and say, okay, look, this is a new group.
Right.
I'm your new superintendent. You hired me to do the job. I've got a great staff working for me. We've had some issues, certainly in Beverly. I took this job on. I want to do it. So it's real interesting. And when people say that elections don't have consequences, believe me, they do. And
Sure they do.
we're seeing it as a
know-
result of what was done tonight.
Right, we've been talking about really the races that had, some contest happening, but we have all these other city councilors and school committee members that ran unopposed. And that's going to be the makeup of the political environment here in Beverly. Maybe we should talk a little bit about all those ward councilors that ran unopposed. And really, like you said, there's some incumbents and some that aren't incumbent, right? So
The ward councilors are all
they're
incumbents.
all incumbents?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was only the.
the school committee.
Yeah, there were no ward councilors that were opposed. So Todd Rotundo, Danielle Spang in Ward 2, Steve Crowley in 4, Scott Hausman.
No, Scott
long
Hausman
time.
is 4.
I'm sorry, Steve
Yeah.
Crowley in 3, Scott Hausman in 4.
I know, 'cause he's my ward councilor.
Kathleen in 5, and Matt St. Hilaire in 6. Will all be back, which for Julie, for the council president, is great because she's got she has 2 rookies joining her, but she's got 6 other incumbents,
Veteran.
all experienced ward councilors to help her out. I can tell you this, and she will be over at her event. She'll be thinking of this already. And Gwanzi used to talk about this all the time. The hardest thing the council president has to do between now and January, when they have their first meeting, is decide on the committee assignments.
Yeah.
Because the real work of the council, the real nuts and bolts work gets done in the
happens in the
committees.
committee,
Not at the full council meetings.
Right.
There's work that gets done there.
Right.
But the real nuts and bolts, the longer discussions, the real nitty-gritty, gets done in legal affairs, in finance and property, and public services. So whom the chairs of those committees will be, whom the members of those committees will be, is absolutely solely the choice. It used to be the mayor that chose, but that was changed back in the original charter years ago. So the council president has to decide that between now and January. And it is, Julie would tell you, Paul Gwanzi, if you asked him, would tell you, that is the hardest decision they have to make, because what Paul did and what Julie did is she'll solicit all 8 of the councilors. And council president is always on finance and property. That's just
the way it
they
works.
should be there.
Yeah.
Not the chair, but a member of finance and property that does the budget and everything. Whom the chairs will be, whom the members will be, and she will, as Paul did, solicit all the members and say, what do you want to do? And the councilors, certainly the incumbents, will all be smart enough to say, okay, they'll know she's going to be doing that, so they'll have ideas of their own about, okay, well, I served on this, or I was chair of this, but I really want to do this.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
she's got a balance.
hopefully it's based on you know, where their skills lie and what they want to do, and
Well,
to
that's
start
sure.
there, right?
Skill set's going to be a very important piece, as
Right.
will tenure, I would guess.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I would
I
guess.
guess, yeah.
Right?
The more veteran you are, and
Sure.
Right.
you get to choose.
The
right?
other the other big issue, I mean, we've talked not just about the results of the election, but what are we facing? It's no secret to anyone, and the mayor has said this. Both candidates said this, Brendan and Mike, and all the councilors are aware of this. The city budget for next year, for fiscal '27, which will begin in July 1st of next year, is anticipated to be a difficult budget for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And so, and this year's budget wasn't easy, but next year is supposed to be even harder. So as I said, well, I talked about a new mayor starting in January. I can guarantee you Mike Hale is probably already thinking about, and the process quickly is that the mayor and the finance director, Brian Ailes, will get to the department heads pretty soon after New Year's and ask them to review their budget and submit it for consideration. And for the next couple of months, those are reviewed by the mayor and the finance director with an eye toward what's coming in from the state, federal government, who knows, and what revenues are going to be, 2.5%, and all the rest of it. And then they'll sit down with the department heads again, like late April, early May, and say, okay, you wanted this and this and this. We can't give you this, we can't give you that, but we can give you that. Or we can't give you any of those things. Or you've got to take a 10% cut, or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then that budget then is put together and presented to the council by charter, by the end of May. And the council takes most of the month of June to have those department head meetings. The mayor presents the whole budget. They meet with department heads of the big departments and talk about all the budgets, line by line, in excruciating detail, live and on cable. And it's a process. Yeah. And it's anticipated to be really difficult, along with whatever else they have to deal with.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. And this is a group of people that are serious, and I think that will be well served by, with some of the new people, some new blood, and some of the people that have been around for a while. So I feel good about most of the results, and I think that it'll be interesting to see how this mix of people goes forward. The new people have from now until January, well, except for John Mullady, who's going to be a new counselor real fast.
That's really interesting. We'll have to watch that really closely. Well, you know, I want to thank you, Wes, for joining us. You're always a wealth of information, and I learned, you know, we've done this a couple times, and I learn something new every time.
As do I.
And this is a very unique election.
It's very unique, and it's, you know, there's just something that is so democratic about a day like this.
It feels good.
You know,
it feels really good.
It feels really good to be able to voice your opinion by putting a check mark next to a name of somebody who you respect, who you think will do what needs to be done to make our city better, to make our city stronger. And I think it's just a wonderful process that we all go through. And I say to anybody who's watching us here tonight, you know, if you didn't get a chance to vote, if you're busy, as we all lead busy lives, try to maybe next time find a little bit of time. You know, take just very few minutes and register a vote. And it's all for the betterment of you and your family and everybody else's family as well. So yeah, with that, I think that's a great place to end. We really appreciate you watching us at home. We hope that you found this interesting and informative, and you learned who your next leaders of Beverly are going to be. And I want to thank my co-host, Al. It's always a pleasure. Andy. Always a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
Always. Thank you.
And thank Wes again. And good night.